Today we're going to take a little bit of time to review some of the steps and some of the more important aspects of adding decimals. In this case, we've been asked to add 3.25 plus 6.2. If we would like to realign this vertically, the most important thing that we need to remember is that we have to align our decimals correctly. So if we were to write this, one of the more common mistakes that we'll see is that we'll see students do this, where our decimals are aligned incorrectly, and this ultimately is going to give us an incorrect answer. So it is very, very important that the first thing that we do is that we place the decimal and then we place the numbers accordingly. Now what we have is we have an empty space here, and this empty space is actually occupied. It is occupied by a 0. And it's important to fill those in. It's especially important when we get into subtraction. So in this case, now all we do is we just do simple adding the exact same way as if we've done with whole numbers. When we're subtracting, the exact same principles apply as when we are actually adding. The first thing we need to do is we need to make sure that we properly align our decimals. So in this case, if I'm going to do this vertically, I'm going to make sure that my decimals are perfectly in line. And now I'm going to just simply subtract as if I normally would. As you can see, my decimals are perfectly in line with each other. And that's how we can get our answer. But we do run into a little bit of a problem sometimes when the equations tend to change. So what ends up happening is if this equation was actually 6.8 minus 2.44, what we end up seeing is something like this. We'll see one of two things. Either the students will misalign the decimals, in which case the decimal would be in the wrong spot, which would alter the outcome of the equation, or they will write in the equation as such, and rather than put in the 0, they simply put in 4. This is in fact incorrect, because remember, as we said earlier, this space is occupied. It is occupied by a 0, and we know whenever that there's a number that's less than our subtracting number, we simply have to borrow. In which case this now becomes a 10, and 10 minus 4 is not 4, it is rather 6. We just continue to subtract, and we get our answer of 4.36. So in review, make sure that if you ever have an empty space here, remember that it is in fact occupied by a 0.